Look at them. Well, guys. Hi guys. Alright, as promised, I'm making the chunky tomato basil soup. And it's very easy to make, and it's actually very quick to make. So, what we will need: 2 large cans of petite diced tomatoes, a family-sized can of tomato soup. This is 23.2 ounces. The recipe calls for 50 ounces. This is condensed. You have to add water, so when you add the water to it, this will be about 50 milliliters of, or 50 ounces, milliliters, 50 ounces of tomato soup. 2 tablespoons of sriracha sauce. This is spicy, so if you're going to be having kids eat with you, I would use less, or you can omit this altogether. I'll use less of it because my kids can tolerate some. It's not going to be too hot with half or even less than that. Or you can just put it in your own individual bowls. But if you're going to be cooking it in a whole pot, it's 2 tablespoons. If you got kids, feel free to omit this. Basil, which I have my little basil plant here, so I'll just grab a handful of those leaves off. Some salt, Cajun seasoning, ground sage, white pepper. Now with all the seasonings, you kind of just put it in to taste. There's no measurement for it. You put in as much or as little as you want to put in. You need 4 celery stalks and 2 leeks. Make sure that you wash these well, because dirt can hide in some of the folds of the leaves, so just give them a really good wash. You need 32 ounces of half and half, a 1/4 cup of butter, and 3 cups of cheese. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is dice your leeks and thinly slice your celery. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Right there at the ends. Guys, this soup is so good, and it does not take long to make it all. It only takes probably about 20 minutes to throw it together. I've already got my pot set on low heat, because what you're going to do first is you're going to take your celery, your leeks, your basil, and then you're going to melt that butter, and you're going to kind of saute those in there. That's the first step after you chopped everything up. Now, the last time I made this soup, I cut those leeks up and I threw them in my Ninja because I just didn't even feel like dicing leeks. But I'm going to actually just dice them up for you guys this time, just so I can show you how they look when you cut them. But feel free to throw them in the blender. Dice is a lot faster than chopping it. So. Alright, so I'm going to cut these up and then I'll come back. Alright, so now I'm going to cut up these leeks. I put my celery in a bowl just to set it to the side, because I'm using the little chopping board. I'm going to cut the ends off. And if you're like I am, the first time that I ever used leeks was when I made this recipe the first time. I had no idea they were like onions. I didn't even know what they looked like. But you can see they're like onions, and if you're sensitive to onions, you will tear. I'm sensitive to onions, I still tear. So I'm just giving you a warning there. But these need to be diced, so I'm gonna cut them like this first, and then dice them up and throw them in the bowl with the celery. Again, make sure you wash these good, because you can see they're layered and layered and layered and layered. And I often find that as I get into it, I have to go and re-rinse. So I'm gonna dice them up, but then I'll just take the whole bowl and wash again underneath the sink, because they unravel some when you cut into them. And it'll be easier to make sure that you clean all the dirt that seeps in between the layers inside the leeks. Some people don't mind a little extra protein. I do. I think I'll wash it down the sink. I don't need any extra protein. Alright, so I'm going to chop those up and wash them. Okay, so in the bowl I have the celery and the leeks all diced up. Butter's already melted. Have it on low. And just put your leeks and your celery in. Stir that up. And then just add some basil. I have my little fresh basil plant, so I just take some off and rinse them and then throw them in the pot and stir. And I might add more or less. I don't know. Depends on how much basil I feel like I need to add as it starts to cook. Yeah, you pull those off, tear them up. Oh man. I like to kind of just let that kind of cook until I start smelling it good. Not a real long time. I want some more basil. But then after that, you're going to take your 2 cans of the diced tomatoes and throw it on top of that and turn it up on the high heat. And then add your seasonings and then your tomato soup. The can of the condensed tomato soup, and then obviously you fill the can up with water and throw that in there. I love fresh basil. It smells so good. I'll let you guys see this in a second. I'll bring the camera over so you can see what it looks like in the pot. Just want to get it going. Sorry, I forgot. Okay, so now I'm gonna add those 2 big old cans of tomatoes. Make sure that you get the petite diced tomatoes, not just diced tomatoes. Petite diced tomatoes. Salt, white pepper, so sage. Again, add this to taste. Cajun seasoning. I'm only going to put a little bit of this in here, not a whole lot. But remember, 2 tablespoons if you want to go directly with the recipe. One can of the tomato soup. I'm going to fill this up with some water, and that gives us our 50 ounces. Turn your heat up to medium. Let you get a look at what that looks like now. Now the next thing to do will be to add the 3 cups of cheese and to put the 32 ounces of the half and half in there in the pot. So when you add the half and half, you add it. Now you don't have to dump it all in at a time. You just kind of slowly add it and stir and make sure it gets mixed in really good. So the last thing will be, after you have gotten your half and half in gradually and you're stirring and mixing, then you put your cheese. The cheese melts. You stir and mix that in really good too. The cheese is going to melt into the rest of the soup. So I'm going to wait for that to kind of start boiling before I add my half and half to it, because at that point it's almost done. So just cover that up and come back. Alright guys, so it's starting to boil. So here's my first 16 ounces of half and half. I'm going to slowly stir in. Now when you get your cheddar, make sure you get finely shredded cheddar, not just regular cheddar. The recipe calls for finely shredded. So I'm assuming because it will melt faster if it's thinner. So make sure you stir that really good. There's our second 16 ounces. Now each bag of cheese that I have here is 2 cups. So I'm just gonna put a bag and a half in. If you want to measure it out in a cup, feel free, but it's already measured out in here. So I'm gonna bypass putting it in a cup and just dump it in there. Making a mess. Alright, so that's 32 ounces. Next step would be to put the cheese in. I'm going to wait for it to start boiling again though. Okay, so I added 3 cups of cheese and the soup is ready now. So I just stir it until it's nice and hot and boily, and that's what the finished product looks like. Now what I do is I take some croutons. If you can make your own croutons, do it, but I usually just buy a bag of croutons, garlic and cheese, or just the garlic bread croutons, and throw some of those on top with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and bon appetit. Okay, fairly simple, right? So that's it. Go make your soup, enjoy it. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and see you next video.